I want to quickly go through these theory, facts, and mindsets, and then I want to talk about this like man-woman frame and what it means to be, direct in your vibe, and what it means to flirt. Just elements of outer game. Some theory, facts, and mindset. So one, girls are always secretly open to meeting the right guy. But they get hit up all the time by the wrong guys. Okay, and I don't want to spend too much time on these things. I want to kind of run through them. So they get hit up a lot by the wrong guys. Creepy guys, fake alpha guys, boring guys, guys that don't really state their intent. All kinds of shit that they're like. And as a result, they become, they're always more selective, but they become reluctant to just like open up. And sometimes you'll experience that at night. It's like, okay, here's another guy. Yeah, it's like, so they want you to prove yourself first before they open up because they've dealt with so much bullshit. Not as much during the day because guys don't approach as much during the day. But they also deal with that shit in social circles where guys are all like indirect and weird and creepy, and it's like, what do you really want from me? So, but if the right guy comes along, unless she's in love or in some kind of a committed relationship, she'll be open to the idea of meeting him. I mean, why wouldn't she, right? Now, women respond to value and emotions in the moment. So we talked about this. Your social value, looks, money, and status is not overly important. It's about the quality she sees in your personality. Those are all bonus. So it's about the quality she sees in your personality and the emotions she experiences when you're around. This is very key. How are you making the woman feel? How are you making others feel?
Right.
Okay. One thing, by the way, just brief thing I want to mention.
Sure.
I feel like when I've been, and I don't know if this is the case with like your friends or acquaintances, but when I talk to you over text, you seem kind of dry.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Girls told me I'm not as expressive.
And and of course I recognize that. Okay, this is kind of like a business relationship that we have, but at the same time, when we're in person, we joke around.
Yeah.
But over text, you kind of come off as a little dry.
Yeah.
Now, if you're talking to a girl and you come off the same way, well, how are you making her feel? How is she able to connect with you if you're kind of like, yes, I am here, I went there, what are you doing? Right?
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things you need to be thinking about.
That's true.
In person, over text.
Phone, everything.
Yeah, exactly, everything. Okay. So, back to...
Yeah, no, that's good because so girls told me, she's like, next time you send me a text message, send me a facial emotional,
A little emoji to know what's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to read sometimes. Okay, so it's about the quality she sees in your personality, emotions, she experiences. Now,
anything else you know, just tell me. It's fine.
I'll bring up anything I think is important. So, women also have zero accountability to guys they just met. Okay, so it's important that you know that a woman, nobody actually really owes you anything, let alone a stranger in the street, a woman. Because some guys get butthurt when they approach a girl at night or the day, and they're like, "Oh, she wouldn't give me the time of day. She didn't. I put in all this effort to talk to her, and she was being bitchy and unreceptive, and she could have at least, blah blah blah." It's like, well, where's this coming from? Why does she owe you anything? And we touched on this when I was talking about at night. Some girls are just they're not into it, they're not in the mood. Maybe it's on you. This actually goes back also, or ties in with this notion of 90-10, where sometimes day game, night game, I think maybe more so with day game, it's on you to put in more of the effort and more of the work in the beginning. Whether it's 90% or 80% or 70%, it'll depend on the girl. And then and then expect that the girl might be start putting in more, and it'll become 50-50, because you're talking to a stranger, and this is unnatural, number one, and maybe she's feeling anxiety herself. There's pressure on her. Maybe she even likes you, but she doesn't. Nervous. Yeah, and she's nervous, exactly. Or maybe she's a little bit uncertain as to whether or not she should be speaking to you. So there are all these like factors and forces, and so it's on you to put her at ease and to like start laying the foundations for a more comfortable kind of relationship or dynamic. To let her to open up, but never hold anything against her if she's not interested or doesn't want to talk to you, or it's taking her longer than you think is appropriate to, to open up, blah, blah, blah. So 0 accountability to guys they just met, right?
Yeah, so I was gonna ask, because that's true what you said. Maybe some girl like dating that I've approached, someone more conservative,
reserved,
you have to like connect more with them. Others are just, they talk more in general about things, more talkative, so that's good. But at night,
and the more you're in tune with why they're feeling the way they're feeling, the more realistic you'll be about things in general, about your approach and everything, as opposed to, oh, she was just unresponsive. Well, why do you think she was unresponsive? Maybe she was unresponsive because, or maybe she just walked away from you because she had to go greet her friend who's a promoter. And in that moment, it was more important to go and greet her promoter friend than to talk to some random dude. But you approach her, let's say, 10 minutes later when she's chilling, and she'll be more receptive all of a sudden. So it's important to understand the whys. Okay, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying that, like in day game, you can be direct or talk to the girl and get to know her, be more personal with her. Yeah. Like, so are you from this area? You know, what type of work you do? And then she tells me, and I tell her what I do. We talk. I can get to know her more, build more rapport. But in the night game, I guess it's the same, but it's more about small talk and getting her comfortable talking about stuff. Because if you go to, like, try to build too much rapport, I think at night, it can come off as too needy or too, too heavy. Yeah. So I guess I need to.
This can happen. That's a good point. This can happen during the day as well. I think some guys, go too hard on building rapport too soon, when that can be quite burdensome and taxing. All of a sudden to be like, what do you do? What are your passions? What's your family like? It's like, whoa, that's a lot of work. Same thing at night. A girl just wants to have fun, and you're like trying to have this serious conversation. Look, it depends. It depends on the setting. A more loungy, quiet environment on a patio, is different than from a dance floor, for example, right? Also, different types of girls. You'll have maybe a more intellectual, cerebral type of girls that'll be down to discuss all kinds of deep topics. Then there's some that are just like out chilling, and you want to keep things light. And you need to know how to adapt.
I think that comes down again to the connection you form, and it's your responsibility to form that connection with her, and that'll allow things to be more to be more comfortable with, like, being more personal about things, and then like gauging the interaction and the connection. I think that's what.
Exactly. Gauging the interaction, gauging what they're like as a person. Is that your phone?
Upstairs, I think.
Oh. Just gauging the dynamic, like, what are her friends doing? What's appropriate when? Okay. Yeah. So next, men experience attraction like a light switch. I don't know if you've heard this before, and women experience it like a volume knob.
Like a switch, like a volume knob.
So, so with men, it's like, okay, either I'd fuck her or not. It's like up, on or off, right? Yeah. With women, it's more progressive. Okay, and it could certainly happen fast. Like, it can happen sometimes within like 10 seconds. Sometimes it can happen within like a minute. But it's not instantaneous. It can happen fast, but it's not instantaneous. Where it's like, oh, this guy looks good, I definitely fuck him. Maybe sometimes if a guy's really good looking, but otherwise they need to kind of experience you emotionally to know, you know what, I'm attracted to this guy. Okay. But that doesn't mean that they're necessarily ready to fuck you then and there. So even if they know that they're attracted to you, theoretically, it doesn't mean that they're ready to have sex with you now, whereas men would be. It's like, if this girl's hot, I'm down to fuck her right now, generally speaking, unless maybe you came a bunch of times right before. So recognizing that girls need more time to get aroused is important. To get aroused, to get more comfortable around you, and then eventually, like, it's a lot more emotional for them. They're ready to have sex. Of course, it depends on the girl too. I'm generalizing. Some girls are ready to fuck right away. And also, when you meet girls at night, you want to know, you want to be able to gauge where their arousal level is, or their buying temperature. It's a sales term. You might have heard it?
Yeah.
Yeah, buying temperature. So that applies in pickup as well, to like where a girl's arousal level is. So if you meet a girl who's coming out of a nightclub at the end of a level is a lot higher than a girl you meet during the day as you're walking to the bank, right? Because she's gone through a whole night of dancing, drinking, drama, flirting.
Emotions are
emotions are running highs, and as a result, she's also maybe physically aroused. Sometimes you'll see situations where like a girl will get aroused by talking to one guy, but then all that has been built up, and then another guy just takes over. She still has to be equally attracted, but
for the other guy,
because her emotions are all aroused, have been built up, right? So recognize that difference. Women categorize you as a lover or a provider, and have or neither. Lover, provider, or just a friend, or maybe even not a friend if you're just completely inadequate socially. But let's suppose, okay, so it's lover, provider, or friend. So if they feel like you're someone who's very successful and connected, maybe she's not sure if she wants to fuck you just yet, but she'll tell herself, you know what, I wouldn't mind having this kind of guy in my life. He's connected, he's got money, he can take me out places, he's kind of like a provider, okay? And maybe she will still sleep with him at some point, and maybe the guy will grow on her, who knows? But she'll definitely withhold sex for a while, because she may not even be into this guy.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if she sees you as a lover, though, she'll sleep with you, and that could, of course, turn into like a lover-provider type of relationship as well, where, she's into you, you guys are having sex, you guys are building a relationship, but you're also, let's say, making a good living, and you're taking care of her as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Right?
Yeah.
So does that make sense, the difference between the two?
Yeah,
or if you can just be a buddy, where she's just like, all right, this guy's kind of nice, maybe we can hang out sometimes.
Yeah, because I heard like there's like different types of sex women have with guys, like pity sex, like maintenance sex. Maintenance sex and alpha sex, and you want to be in the alpha category. Right. You build that connection, that attraction with the girl, where it's, so it's kind of like, I guess, that type of. You can still get into it to have sex with some girls if everything's good, but it's different levels depending on how you come across, how you.
What's maintenance sex? Is it kind of like she has to do it out of duty?
Sex. Women love to have sex. I heard.
Yes.
So they're sexual creatures. We all are, but basically it's just sex, like.
For the sake of having your sex, like routine.
Yeah, it's like a routine. It's like they're not emotionally too involved. They're just doing it for the pleasure of having sex.
Although very few women are like that, to be honest.
Well, I mean, that guy that was showing that is black. So I don't know about black women. They're, like I was saying, they're more, I guess they're
expressive.
More expressive, more.
Maybe it's something to do with like when you're in a relationship and a woman will just have sex out of like a need, or just to kind of get off. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. Like, okay, let's have sex so I can get off, but.
There's just have to invest, make it work. But I guess it's different.
Yeah, she should be like really enjoying herself, like the alpha sex that you're talking about. Okay, women make decisions about sex emotionally and quickly, and decisions about relationships more logically and slowly. So the best way to get a girlfriend is to be the lover and then introduce elements of a provider. But it's not just of a provider. It's more like, I mean, she might have sex with you, right? Let's say she's attracted to you and she might have sex with you and it's an emotional decision, right? But at some point, if you want to attract a certain type of woman to be your girlfriend, your lifestyle and your values and those kind of things should more or less match up to hers. It's not to say that people, won't get into relationships. It's not like everyone intuitively, immediately knows that this will or won't work. But there might be some red flags. Like, let's say you're a younger guy, and you had sex with, like, let's say you're 20 years old and you had sex with like a 30-year-old woman, and she enjoyed the experience of the sexual experience, but then she's gonna think to herself, okay, well, can I really have a relationship with this younger guy? So, yeah, is he financially stable? Does he have the same values as me? The guy's 10 years old, younger. Or let's say, I don't know, or maybe it could be, finances, or maybe it could be a race thing. Yeah. Like the girl has sex with some black dude, but maybe she'll be like, can I really see myself as dating a black dude? Or it's a long distance thing.
Right.
I fucked this guy while I was in Italy, but he's cool, but can I really maintain this? So they will try to make a more logical decision about whether you're a good fit. Is this the kind of guy I can integrate into my life? Okay, so it's important to recognize. Now, girls test guys to see if they're quote-unquote congruent. Okay, so are they in alignment? Is what they say, it's like what Gandhi said. No, he said happiness is when what you say, what you do, and what you think are in harmony. Because otherwise, you're suffering from what they call cognitive dissonance. It's like when your thoughts, actions, feelings are all kind of out of alignment. So, as a man, it's very important to come into alignment. Right. And if you're not, the relationship will suffer. Whatever relationships you have with women, whether they're short or long, you'll just come off as incongruent. It's like, this guy's just not in alignment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
It's like he can't quite communicate what he wants, who he is. He's kind of like pretending to be confident, but I don't think he really is.
Right.
And that's not very attractive.
Right.
It's also just generally something other people won't vibe well with, because you generally want to be around people who are authentic, who know what they want, who know how to communicate their boundaries, who aren't passive aggressive, for example, who are going after what they want in life, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like me. I don't know. I mean, this I know, but I don't have a lot of close friends. I have a lot of acquaintances. Yeah. But not close friends. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm just the type of guy who keeps to myself. But I don't think of it, or there may be some little thing about me that doesn't allow me to, or doesn't want me to connect as much with, be so friendly with everybody, like have really deep friendships. Well,
there could be a lot of reasons for this. You could have fear of getting close to people. You could have fear of being vulnerable, fear of maybe them finding out.
But I have friends. I mean, it's just not like.
Yeah, like there are reasons for why it could be lack of social skills in some sense. Or
like I was telling you, maybe it's about maybe it's before I kind of halted everything and I kind of got away, and now I'm more wary of who I spend my time with. Like maybe that's something that's just part of me.
Maybe you also don't. Maybe also you don't open up as much with people. Yeah. Or maybe some of it has to do with those people, but. There's a lot of reasons for not being able to connect with and make close friendships.
I don't think it's a big thing. It's like,
No, it could be a big thing. I mean, we don't know.
You're saying about maybe insecure about being able to connect or something. So I was just thinking.
There could be so many reasons. Like if I were to, over the course of this boot camp, I'm gonna get to know you better. But of course, if we'd spend more and more time with each other, You know, I would start to notice certain things.
Right.
Like, for example, the texting thing.
Yeah.
Right? I would start to notice certain things, and I'd be able to see why maybe you and I can't form a friendship, or maybe we could form a friendship. Yeah. But I would start to pick up on more things. Yeah. Right? So I'll share as much as I can with you, and as you go through this journey of pickup and self-development, you'll start to notice and understand certain things.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I do have friends, I have people, but it's just like, I do things and I get to the point of things that I'm doing. I'm kind of like, you know, so it's like friendships are important, but it's like I can't be friends with everybody I meet. You know, it's like
of course,
right.
Of course. There's
it's a big,
Look, don't dismiss it as not a big deal. It could be a big deal, but at the same time, certain things might have nothing to do with you. Yeah. Like, of course, you can't be friends with everyone. Of course, you don't want to be friends with everyone. Some people maybe don't even, themselves might not be able to form strong relationships. Sometimes I'll meet people and, like, I find it hard to connect with them because of certain things that they do. I know how to form a strong, lasting relationships. But sometimes I could tell people want to hang out with me, but they themselves are either hiding behind some kind of a facade, or they're trying to project a certain image or portray a certain image, or maybe they can't open up enough, and that makes it hard to connect. Girls are simultaneously the most secure and the most insecure. So they're desperate for validation and will often have sex for it. So look, you could say that about a lot of people, not just women, obviously. But it's just important to understand that women themselves, like when guys do this, they're sometimes so intimidated by women. They think that women themselves don't get anxious and insecure, especially the good-looking ones. Like, I mean, obviously as a good-looking girl, you'll have more free passes in life and, you know, more external validation. But it's not like they themselves don't have their own fears and insecurities, and often, you know, being a really good-looking girl, because you're so reliant on external validation, like model types or Instagram models, that's all that they have.
To get like validation, you know?
Yeah, that's all that they have. That's all that, like, you know, their whole sense of self is built on this image that others have of them, you know, or the validation that they get. And if you strip that away, then it crumbles. Yeah. Right? So, understanding that is very important. Now, next, women enjoy sex as much as men, more even, but they have to pretend that they don't because society says it's bad. Yeah, social something. They're much more open and comfortable sexually around guys who don't have any hang-ups or a judgmental double standard about sex. It's very important. When you show women that you're generally just cool and not judgmental, they're just so much more comfortable around you because, and man, I can't stress this enough because so many guys actually do judge women, and usually they do it because it's coming from a place of insecurity. Like, let's say you're dating a girl, okay? And let's say you're not very sexually experienced, and you find out that she's a lot more sexually experienced than you, okay? And maybe she's done some stuff that, like threesomes or like things that you've never like done. A lot of guys, they get threatened by that. They get very insecure by that. And as a result, because it's like, oh my God, like this girl's so much more experienced, she's done all this shit, I haven't done that. And as a result, they judge the girl, they make her feel bad. My ex told me this, for example. I mean, it's not the only case. Like, this happens a lot. Or guys judge other guys when they don't have a certain kind of lifestyle. They're like, oh, he's just like fucking these drunk whores, and when in reality, that's something they would love to do, right? So they project their own shit. Right. So does that make sense? Yeah. Like how guys would like do that? It's like, oh, you were just a slut. I can't believe you did this and you had a threesome, and how can you do that? When in reality, that's something he would, of course, want to do. Yeah, it's kind of maybe they think that's like, shitty. That's like shitty. They want a girl who's like a good girl, a good woman. Yeah. But they want to have sex with her, but at the same time,
since they want something like they want a good girl or a good woman, and she's having sex, that kind of says, oh, then she's not what I want. But I mean,
there's that too. It's called the Madonna whore complex.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard of that.
I think so. Yeah.
So basically, a woman can't be. It's almost like they think that a woman can't be this Madonna, this saintly nice girl, and a whore at the same time. When in reality, all girls have these elements. I don't want to say a whore, but all girls have these elements of like this primal need to, quote unquote, slut out.
Yeah.
But see, the word slut has a very negative connotation, right? So I want to be careful when I say that.
Yeah,
it's more
sex.
They love sex. They love to be submissive. They like getting choked. Some of them like getting humiliated during sex. Some of them like to have. They all like to get choked. They all like to get their hair pulled. What's that? Spanked. Yeah, they all like to get spanked. Some of them like to get humiliated. Some of them like to get slapped. But isn't that interesting that they all have these emotional, evolutionary...
50 Shades of Grey,
Yeah, but where is this coming from? It's coming from these evolutionary triggers, right? That have been built in. So to think that a girl can't be this nice girl, but also enjoy all these elements, some women fantasize about having sex with multiple men at the same time. I mean, I had sex with a girl in the summer, and she said one of her fantasies is like getting gangbanged by a bunch of guys. And she says she hadn't had one in years because it's hard to organize apparently, but she's had a bunch of threesomes with 2 guys. Okay. So it's like submitting to like a bunch of like men and just getting treated in this like you're just like this slut, They like it. My ex, for example, had an issue with, and this goes back to the point that I'm making. She was very sexual, very open-minded, and she also was a bit of a masochist, so she enjoyed pain a little bit and humiliation, more humiliation than pain. So we had all these kind of role plays and stuff like this, and I was very rough with her. But in the beginning, she was always very worried if that would somehow carry over into our regular life. She thought for some reason that I respected her less, or I thought of her as less than me because of these role plays. And I had to explain to her, and that's probably because of like how society has shaped that view. I mean, or maybe previous exes had judged her, and I had to explain to her, no, this has nothing to do with how I view you in general. This is just something we enjoy on a very sexual level. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's very important to be in touch with that. Next point. Half of success with women is a skill set. If you want to get that quote-unquote girl of your dreams, you learn to become good with women in general. And half of it is the inner qualities that you develop as you go through this journey.
Inner qualities.
Yeah, inner game, outer game, right? So they complement one another. Next point, field experience is king. So, never speculate about what would work with women, go out and test it firsthand. So, you could listen to me, and I'm going to give you the best kind of input that I can give. You might listen to, let's say, another guy, Bob, another guru, and he might tell you this and this and this, and maybe some of the things we say will converge, maybe some will differ. But ultimately, you have to go out and test things for yourself. That doesn't mean you shouldn't take advice from people who have done this, but it's only once you do certain things that it becomes more real in your mind.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that in your mind is a little questionable, like, why would that work? Why would that work? Well, go out and try it and see for yourself. Yeah. Okay?
My favorite quote is, says, do the thing and you'll get the power. Do the thing to get the power. But those who don't do the thing won't get the power.
Do the thing, like go out and actually experience it.
Experience it.
Go through the motions.
Like you'll learn by doing, and you'll figure it out by doing, and you'll get the power. So it's like, Just a quote.
Yeah, exactly. Next point, rejection does not exist. All failure is feedback and builds on your base of reference experiences. Okay, so you could think of this in every aspect of your life, not just with women, but, friendships or any kind of relationships you form or business or anything you ever accomplish. Something doesn't work out. Well, what can I learn from this? You made the best decision that you could at the time with the information that you had at the time. So what can I take away from this? With the thing is, when it comes to meeting women, a lot of guys, they take this kind of stuff more personally because there's another person on the other side.
Right.
So they feel rejected. Okay. Now, I can't stress this enough, how important it is to be above that. To understand that, number one, if a woman doesn't appreciate something about you, okay, number one, that's not something that she can control. Number two, well, what can you do to improve that? Maybe it's your tonality. Maybe you talk too much. Maybe your hygiene is bad. Okay, maybe you weren't dressed very well and she made a snap decision about you having a certain image. So maybe you can dress better. Maybe, I don't know, you weren't courteous. Maybe you were annoying. Whatever it is. So you learn to control the things that you can't control. Okay.
Yeah.
Number two, there are a lot of things that are out of your control. Okay? Maybe she just doesn't like bald guys, period. No matter how good you get, she just doesn't like bald guys. Yeah. It's just they just turn her off. Maybe she is in a relationship. Okay? Maybe she's having a bad day. There's so many things out of your control that, there's no need to stress about.
Yeah, like,
you met this girl, she was having a bad day because her cat died. So why does it have to be about you? Why do you think she rejected you?
Yeah, it's like why does the sun come up on this side? Like they said, like Jim Rohn says, I wouldn't sign up for that class. It's just the way it is, It's like, don't worry about, a lot of people cheat themselves. A lot of people let little things cheat them out of big opportunities. They're focusing on the little stuff, why is this, why is that? And it's like,
and they take it personally, especially with this. They take it personally. It's like, oh, she told me I wasn't good enough. And even if a girl is very hurtful, let's say, even if a girl tells me, you know what, you're fucking bald. All right, I would never fucking sleep with you.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Why should I take that personally?
Yeah.
Why should I take that personally? Number one, let's say she doesn't like bald guys. Number two, even if she is being nasty and spiteful and trying to get under my skin, okay, so what? So what?
Yeah.
So let her. Why? If I'm taking that personally, that says more about me than about her.
Yeah, it's like this lady.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like this girl, this black girl, when I used to work at Home Depot.
Yeah.
She always used to try to mess with me, saying, "Carlo, you're so weird. Why do you do that?" Like when and I was just like, and I read this book, talking about John Maxwell about winning with people. Yeah. It says hurting people easily hurt people and are easily hurt by others. It's like if somebody has a splinter on their finger, everybody they touch, they're gonna hurt them, and they're easily gonna get hurt by them. So it's like she may have a problem or something. So it's like I'm not taking it personal. It's like she's probably something else that I don't know.
Or maybe she's just teasing you.
Yeah.
Sometimes playful teasing.
That's true, yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes people do it out of their own insecurity. Sometimes people just like to tease and it's they're having fun with it, and they hope that you play along.
Right.
Like she says, "Oh, why are you so weird?" You'd be like, "I don't know. I grew up in a weird part of town."
Yeah, I like it. I like that about it.
Next point. This is kind of an affirmation. I see the world through a positive lens, and I take negative feedback in good humor. So, look at the world through a positive fucking lens. And whatever negative feedback you get, or bad things that happen, take it with a good positive attitude. Okay, That's interesting. Okay. Because if you start looking at the world through a negative lens, it's dark. It's not good. All right. Next. I honestly I can't stress that enough, and have a sense of humor about it. I always laughed at the hardships that I've experienced with women, with business. Even right now, like businesses, it's tough. Entrepreneurship, it's very tough, and I have some like I've gone through some very rough moments. But I have to take it in good humor. I have to be positive about it, and I laugh. I laugh at the hardship because it's kind of funny. Yeah. This whole life is kind of funny. That's one of my quotes. Life is a comedy. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, we're these like evolved monkeys living on this world, and we created these societies and these like mating rules and how to acquire power. And here you are taking a boot camp to understand, how to do certain things. Isn't it all kind of fucking funny?
Yeah.
And none of it has any purpose. We're living for absolutely no other purpose than to live and to pass down our genes because that's how we were wired. And because we're curious and to see where this can go. But there's really no sense in it. If you killed yourself right now, or if I killed myself right now, it wouldn't change anything. We would upset a lot of people maybe, family, friends. But in reality, you die now, you die 50 years from now, maybe you have a cool life, but you still die. None of it has any real purpose. Maybe you have kids, maybe you don't. It doesn't matter. In the grander scheme, it doesn't matter. This is a very, very liberating realization that life has no purpose, and it's just this absurd collection of rules and like universal rules and evolution, and biological kind of traits. It's like, well, here we are. Yeah, it actually makes it a lot easier to go through life. So next point is be process versus results oriented. And this again can carry over into business as well, but focus more on what is right process-wise as opposed to the result, because you can sometimes luck out with certain situations. Like let's say you talk to some girl and she kind of like happens to like the fact that you like salsa, and before you know it, you're taking her back home and you have sex with her. Okay, so that's great.
Yeah,
that's cool. It's a cool result. But you shouldn't let that say anything necessarily, okay, especially if you're a beginner. You shouldn't let that say anything about your actual game. Did you actually do everything right process-wise, or did you just luck out?
Yeah.
And vice versa. Let's say you did everything right process-wise, or at least you think you did, but you don't get the result. Let's say in the end the girl has bad logistics and her friends live really far and she has to drive them, and the whole thing goes to shit. Is that necessarily a failure? Is that necessarily a rejection? Is that necessarily because you did something wrong? But guys take that shit to heart. They really celebrate the highs, and they get really hard on themselves on the lows.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're focused more on the results than on the actual process.
Yeah, because for example, sometimes
when it should be the other way around.
Yeah, because sometimes when I don't focus on it a lot. I don't focus on it a lot. But I notice it often, because it's like there's nights when my vibe is more. I'm in a better mood. I have a better vibe, and the night goes better. I'm focused on having fun. Things go smoothly. It's fun, And there's nights I don't feel that way, and I don't let it get to me. But I notice that difference. But I think I need to have a focus and just go out and have fun.
Well, that's a little different. That has more to do with your emotional state, what you're talking about, and it can affect the process. But I want you to understand the point I'm making is that your focus should be on how to execute properly process-wise, right? Versus, and part of that could be getting into a good state, okay? Versus focusing on the results, like did I get the number? Did I have sex with the girl? That's secondary. The results will, of course, come once you get the process down. But don't let it get to you to the point where if I did something bad, it's you. I fucked up. Or if I didn't get the result, I fucked up. Whereas if I did get the result, of course it's because I'm a pickup god. You see that? Right. No, it could just be because you lucked out and the girl happened to be like the right place, the right time. She likes salsa and it just worked. So be more realistic, number one, and just flatten out these highs and these lows. Just be like, okay, cool. I think I did that right. Or you know what? With this one, I probably lucked out. This one, you know what? I did everything right process-wise, but logistics were a little bit out of my control, or she was seeing some other dude, so that's unfortunate. I'm not going to beat myself up for it. Become abundant with women. It's the ultimate self-fulfilling prophecy. So obviously, as you become more abundant with women, when you start to notice that you have this skill set where you can have more and more women in your life, and you have this sense of abundance where you're not constantly scared about like losing a girl or getting hung up on a girl because you know that you can go out and meet another one. So
that provides confidence.
Exactly, that gives you more confidence, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because they'll read it off of you. It's like, okay, this guy isn't needy. He's not clingy. He's not, he's not putting on any kind of facade to impress me. He's being genuine because he can lose me. He's not afraid to lose me.
Yeah, if you have a lot of prospects, that breeds confidence because it's like you don't need that one. But it's different. But it's true.
Okay, so next. So there's a few affirmations. I know who I am, what I value, what I resonate with, what boundaries I have, and I own my desires as a man.
Yes.
Okay, I am enough. We were born to be social, sexual, and connect with other people. So simply by being a man, I am enough. But I want to be the best possible version of myself. So I am enough inside somewhere. It's not to say like, oh, well, Vadim said I'm enough, therefore I can just continue being the way I've always been. Mm-hmm. No, somewhere inside of you is this person.
Can I take a picture of that really quick?
Of what?
Of that part.
Sure, I'll send this to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So somewhere inside of you there is this person, there is this, optimal version of Ricardo that we want to bring out over the years, that we want to sculpt out.
Yeah.
Okay? So in that sense, you are enough. We need to actually bring that out. And that can take time. Okay. Next, I offer value just by being myself. My best self, but still myself. No gimmicks. And you want to focus on authenticity and congruence. So over time, people should just want, as you develop yourself and become your best self, people should want to hang out around you just for you, right? Just because of the way you make them feel. Okay. Next, you attract people who are similar to you. If you want a certain type of girl, you have to become that as well. And same thing with other people, with other guys too. Just any kind of people you want to attract into your life, you want to be that person to begin with. Does that make sense? It's like, well, if you're not that person to begin with, well, why would those people hang out with you? Why would that kind of woman want to be with you?
Yeah, that's true.
Let's say you tell yourself, well, I want this really hot, really smart, confident, well-traveled, sophisticated woman. Well, can you even handle a woman like that in your current position? Probably not, right? So how does that even make sense? Some people are like very unrealistic, or they'll say, I want, and it can have to do with a certain lifestyle too. Like, I want this and this type of lifestyle, or I want these and these type of friends. Well, what have you done to deserve these kind of friends or that kind of lifestyle? What have you done to suggest that those kind of people want to hang out with you? Mm-hmm. Successful entrepreneurs, or I don't know, some kind of entertainers, or people that are like coming from a place of abundance and they're fun and cultured. Well, you have to be that person first.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, like, you want a sexual girl, a real sexual girl, you have to become a...
Yeah, you want a girl who's sexual and experienced, well, you got to be that kind of person.
Yeah.
No one wants to deal with, no one wants to just like be around someone because they're a charity case. So, next, assume you'll have sex with her. Have this assumption at all times, almost to a point of delusion. Remember, fake it till you make it?
Yeah.
Assume the close. Assume she likes you. Okay? Yeah, assume it. Again, you'll have to delude yourself to an extent, sure. But assume the close, assume it's on. Assume she wants to meet up with you. Because with this delusional assumption, there will come an element of confidence. Wow, this guy really thinks that it's happening. It's like, whoa, why is he so deluded? And you needed that element of delusion as well in business too. Because if you haven't nominated yourself as a certain kind of superstar or as having some kind of value to bring to your clientele, well then why should people buy from you? Right? Why should this woman sleep with you if you're not even sure in yourself? Yeah. And of course, as this gets confirmed, when you sleep with more women, you'll actually know that you are the shit. You'll actually believe it. So of course I'm the shit. I've slept with all these women. The women have told me that I am, great in all these different ways and how I've made them feel. So at some point it becomes like, this is reality. Right. Like the sun rises, I'm a sex god, okay? Or I'm a successful entrepreneur, whatever it is that reality is confirmed. Next, and this ties in, this next point ties in with the being process-oriented philosophy, having or adopting a no big deal mentality. If you bang a girl, it's no big deal. If you get rejected, it's no big deal. This mentality levels you out and keeps you, more humble and more realistic. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't celebrate the small wins. Okay, it's important to celebrate the small wins. It's important to say, you know what? I did this right process-wise, and this happened, and this is cool. Okay, this is great. But at the same time, don't let it get to you. Yeah. Don't form an identity around it. Don't think, oh, of course I'm like this hotshot pickup guy, and of course this happened. Of course I pulled this girl because that's who I am. If you let that get to your head, that's not good.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a delicate balance of celebrating the small wins, and celebrating that you've made advancements process-wise, but also being humble, realistic, no big deal. Okay. Next, whatever happens, I can handle it. Trust in the process. Trust in yourself. As Schwarzenegger says, trust yourself. Yeah. Whatever happens, I can handle it. Next, my life is already awesome. Let's see how I can make it more awesome. Don't take what you have and what you've built and who you are for granted. Everyone has something to be proud of, right? My life is already awesome, and I'm already proud of what I've done and where I am, and I'm grateful. Let's see how much more awesome I can make it. As opposed to, oh, my life is so shitty, I need to fill this void, right? You see how it's like a different perspective? So that's important. Okay, so that's that. Any questions first, and then before that we'll talk about the whole man to woman frame and elements of being direct in your vibe and what all that means.
No, it's just about ways to help you become a better version of you. All these are things to use, philosophies to apply to yourself, to your life, to make things better. Yeah, it's good. Everything's good.
Yeah, it's essentially self-development, but there is of course an element of, outer game and seduction techniques, and I don't want to say techniques, but principles, seduction principles that go hand in hand with some of these other philosophies and affirmations or general principles of self-development.
And those are things that we'll learn in the process.
I'll talk about a lot of them, but you'll learn them in the process as well.
Okay, good.